that a lot of those indicators are actually saying the same thing, maybe in a slightly different language. Maybe they're using slightly different measures, but they're basically saying the same thing. So consensus is already there. And I think that's what we showed in our paper. I think what we showed was that based on all the indicators that we found and we used in our database, here's the 20 components that come up, and we kind of showed it in two different ways. So the way it was done is that all the components, all the indicators were taken and put into clusters. And so, and then the 20 clusters was the one that kind of came out on top. But so some of them we said, well, here's the center point of a cluster, and the closest point to that cluster, this is what the term is. Or if you manually look at the entire cluster, what's it trying to say, kind of thing. So those sometimes are the same things, but sometimes they're a little bit different.
And using some interesting new tools, so this semantic modeling idea allowed us to actually quantify, the degree of similarity across these different indicators. And I think before having that, ability to quantify it, well, it's easy enough to say, yes, they're all very similar or whatever, but it's harder, I think, to really make the point in a more compelling way without that ability to quantify it. So we can say exactly how similar are they, on which ones are the ones that capture most of the similarity across these 213. I think we had different indicators.
Despite the 20 domains that we found do keep cropping up again and again, that doesn't mean that all these indicators are the same. A lot of them have wildly different numbers of components. Some of them will only have 3 or 4. Some of them will have 300 or 400. Similarly, some of them will also express a composite number at the end of it, whereas some of them go for dashboards. So there's lots of ways that, despite there being a high level of semantic similarity between them, they express it very different.
There is quite a bit of diversity in some ways, because some were designed to be specifically well-being indicators and compare countries, but some were specifically done for communities, and some were specifically done to, yes, we have a community, but environment is struggling, so we're going to put more emphasis on the environment, for example, or something like that. So because they were potentially created for slightly different purposes, they might vary. They have that diversity. So it's even more interesting that we did find this much similarity, even though they were created all over the world for different reasons.
An interesting outcome from this analysis that we did was to show that there is kind of a break point, a sweet spot, when you start increasing the number of components and looking at similarity across all of these different components. When you get to about 20 or so, you've captured, most of it. You can capture more, but there's diminishing returns. You do 20, you're going to get most of it. At least a better approximation to the well-being of a nation or an area. One way we like to group these things is into these 4 basic types of assets that we have. That are built, are human, are social, and are natural capital assets, if you want to think of it that way. And our list of 20 that we came up with, I think, had 4 things in the human capital component. There's things like life satisfaction, health, life expectancy, and education. Then we had 5 things in the social capital component: crime, civic engagement, governance, inequality, and gender equality. And then the built capital, there's housing, infrastructure, financial security, employment, per capita GDP. So GDP is still, a component of this 20, but not the only one, and business health. And then in the natural area, we had natural capital, water quality, air quality, and greenhouse gas emissions.
I think this helps, one, show that, yes, there's consensus. The ideal number is around 20-ish. But this is also a methodology that can be used to move forward. We're not saying this is like the one and only methodology, of course, but we're saying it can help. Will it work exactly like we've stated in this paper? No, of course not. It probably shouldn't, right? But we're starting that conversation of, here's a way to build consensus. Let's move forward from here. Whatever's chosen, with all this new research done, it's been 75 years approximately since GDP was put in place. We know a lot more. We have much better technology. Odds are that whatever is chosen will be better than GDP, and whatever is chosen needs to be adaptive, right? The world will continue to change. Whatever we choose today might not be that valid in 2 decades, for example. And so it has to be set up in a way that it can be adaptive and moving forward, because nothing stays still, so this shouldn't either.